Hello?
No, wait, that's so cool. Oh, I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hey!
Excuse me. I don't think you want to take that. It's not even your color. There you go, ma'am.
Thanks, Superman.
It's all in a day's work, ma'am. Whoosh!
What are you doing?
Just, playing with my toys.
Aren't you a little bit old for that?
No?
Well, okay, have fun then.
Thanks. Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Taylor Campbell here. I'm back again with another video for you guys. And today, I wanted to answer a common question I get. One of the most common questions I get as a fan of comic books, and specifically a fan of Superman, is where should I start reading Superman books? And I think this is a good question to answer because I noticed that the official list from DC Comics has a lot of books on it that are maybe not the most beginner friendly for the character. And so today I wanted to give you my top 5 best starting places to read Superman. Now it's important to note that this isn't a top 5 best Superman books. That would be a completely different list that I might do someday, depending on what you guys think. Let me know in the comments if you want to see it. But this is a list of 5 books that are pretty decent and also really good jumping on points to get into the Superman character. So let's get started with number 1. Arguably the most popular DC franchise right now are the TV shows that are showing on the CW. Shows like The Arrow and The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. And that said, if you enjoy the superhero dramas of late, then I would say for you, the Superman book I would recommend to start you on is Superman Birthright. Superman Birthright was commissioned as a kind of soft reboot of the Superman franchise, specifically aimed to get people who were watching Smallville into reading comics. It follows a beginning Superman learning a little bit more about his Kryptonian heritage, as well as trying to find any ounce of good in his old friend Lex Luthor. It explores a little bit of Clark Kent growing up, it explores his friendship with Lex Luthor in Smallville, and it also explores some of the reasons why he wants to reconnect with his Kryptonian side. Meanwhile, we have a Lex Luthor who's trying really hard to shove any memories of Smallville out of his mind, as well as defame Superman for embarrassing him and trying to make Superman look like he's the scout of this giant alien invasion. The story is very reminiscent of the style that the DC TV shows are trying to portray as of late. It treats the character with a lot of respect. It also ties in really nicely into the regular Superman series from like 2005 and on. So all of that combined makes Superman Birthright a pretty good place to start reading Superman comics. Aside from TV series, I noticed that a lot of people are getting into comic books because of the movies that have been coming out. Now, if you enjoy superhero movies and you're looking for a comic book that kind of emulates that giant cinematic appeal, then the Superman book I'd recommend to you is Superman Earth 1. This is a 3-volume Superman story that is pretty reminiscent of movies like The Dark Knight or The Man of Steel. And it is executed nearly flawlessly. I love this book a lot. In fact, I would say that if Warner Brothers used this book as the story treatment for Man of Steel, then Superman movies would be some of the highest rated superhero movies that we would have in the past like 15 years or so. So the base story of it is Clark Kent moving to Metropolis for the first time and learning a bit about being Superman, what that means, how people are supposed to look to him. And on every end, we have the government who's trying to dissect him. We have intergalactic bounty hunters that are threatening world destruction to take down Superman. And overall, it's just a really, really great book. The book's strongest point, though, is that it really sets up expectations for what you're going to see, and then it subverts them. But it subverts them in a really emotional way. A way that makes old familiar characters like Lois Lane and Lex Luthor and Jimmy Olsen really, really different, but also very familiar. And it just feels good. So yeah, of course, Superman Earth 1 Volume 1 leads to Volume 2 and Volume 3. It also leads to a whole slew of other books in the same Earth 1 franchise. And from there, I'd say that this is a good jumping on point for places like the New 52 or something a little bit more modern, which incidentally is where I started reading Superman. If you want to get into something really modern and kind of a little bit gritty and something that feels like a giant Hollywood spectacle, Superman Earth 1 is the place for you to start. Now say you like a little more color in your Superman stories. You're a little bit less Henry Cavill, a little bit more Christopher Reeve. Where would you start? Well, where I would tell you to start is with John Byrne's miniseries, The Man of Steel from 1985. This book can almost be described as Christopher Reeve in a more contemporary universe. And in fact, this book right here was the basis for almost every iteration of Superman from 1985 to about 2010. So not only Christopher Reeve, but also like Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, some of the aspects of the early Smallville seasons. And though the story setting may be a little bit dated now, the story itself is really, really solid, and it brings in a lot of surprises. We get to see a new version of Lex Luthor. We get to see a bit more interplay between Clark Kent and Lois Lane and their relationship. And I would say that this would be a good jumping on point for people who like a little bit more of a classic Superman, but also those who liked Superman as a kid and have grown up and are kind of wondering why did they even like Superman. This kind of awakens the Superman fan in you that kind of left when you were 8 years old. And since this book's influence is so far-reaching, I have a hard time thinking of any book that I would be more comfortable recommending to open someone up to the Superman franchise. So, The Man of Steel by John Byrne. Go ahead and check it out. This is kind of an older copy, so you're not going to find one that looks like this likely, but it's everywhere. Go talk to your comic book shop, tell him you're looking for this, he'll know what to find. So perhaps you're coming in from the DC fandom and you're already a big fan of DC's other really big character, Batman. Well then, the book I'd recommend to you is Superman Batman Public Enemies. It's a great book that really exemplifies the best of this world's finest team-up, as well as show you a bit of a brighter side to Superman and Batman's friendship than Hollywood likes to let us believe. Hollywood likes us to believe that they're enemies. Well, this is a good modern classic tale of them being friends, and it is fun to see the two characters play off each other. This book was good enough to spawn an ongoing series that went on for quite a few years, as well as 2 animated movies based off of the first 2 story arcs of this series. If you are looking for a good way to get into Superman and you're already a big fan of Batman, this is a great book to start off with. Now, I see that you're a distinguished reader, and you're interested in kind of finding out your taste for yourself. Well then, I have a recommendation for you there too. Kind of a sampler platter, a super sampler platter, a Superman super sampler platter. Yeah. of different stories from all across different styles and different ideas that you could really get into and just kind of learn what you like for yourself. And that's respectable. I like that. And so my recommendation for you is to check out a volume of The Adventures of Superman from 2013 and on. What this book is it's a bunch of very short stories written by tons of different people with tons of different art styles and tons of different ideas. And from there you can look at which ones you like most, and then using that knowledge along with this video, you should be able to find another really good place to start. So, that's what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me on this video. I hope it was helpful. If it was helpful, maybe consider giving us a like on this video. Maybe consider subscribing. So my question for you today is, what is your favorite Superman book? And those of you who are fans of Superman already, go ahead and put down in the comments what book you would recommend as a starting place to someone who's new to the character. Also, when you make a PB&J sandwich, do you prefer strawberry jam or raspberry jam? I prefer raspberry jam. But I want to hear what you have to say, because it's a fun question. That's my video for you guys today. And as always, thank you for joining me. Have a great day. And remember to always be your best self.